contact? Who should notify in the case of death? Welcome to the USP, where I spent the last 2+ decades of my life. If you guys see in the comment section, I got a homie. His name is Justin from Palau. He asked me to tell his story, you know, and I thought about it, and I was kind of indecisive for the last few days about how to tell his story. But as you guys know, on my channel, if I do share a story with you, I got to keep it real. So, Justin, you want me to tell you your story. So for better or worse, I'm going to tell you your story. Now, when we was in Lompoc, he came after a year or so after I was there. He's a little bitty guy from Palau. And he's got heart. You know, there's nothing on his record that was, you know, bad or anything like that. And I took a liking to him. You know, we was cool. But my association with him has always been from a distance because we lived in different blocks. Until after the riot in TI, you know, when TI had a riot, they kicked us all out of the M block and moved us to different units. And I ended up in K block where he was at. So now I'm living in the unit with him. And when you're around somebody for a long time in close proximity like that, you start to notice things and you start to see them for who they are, as opposed to, you know, when you're just out and about, meeting somebody here and there, see them every now and then, you know. And sometimes they're two different people, meaning, you know, your perception of them, you thought they were one way, but in reality, they were something different. Now, in the penitentiary, no doubt, there's a lot of goofy dudes, right? There's dudes from all range of integrity, dudes all range of different, you know, ethics. But there's a lot of individuals in there that are intelligent, that are well-read, and that are very, very dangerous. You know, before you get to come and join a family, before it's these guys that are members of BGF, the Black Hand, the Norteños, not the Norteños, but the Nuestra Familia, Texas MA, and TS, and all down the line with the same type of upper echelon when it comes to organized gangs. When you're when they look at you for a prospect, they're looking for certain things in you that you have in you, as far as your heart, your intelligence, and your ability to lead. And they're breeding leaders. And all these dudes, whatever group that I just mentioned, they all follow almost kind of the same playbook as far as their hierarchy with lieutenants and generals and captains and so on. But not only that, they have certain literature that they want you to read, want you to study. Because these books that I'm about to mention, they're studied by politicians. They're studied by CEOs, businessmen. And they're studied by gangsters. Machiavelli the Prince, Mao Tse-tung, The Art of War. And the one that's most people are familiar with is the 48 Laws of Power. Now, some people, when they're being a prospect, they're being evaluated, and the people that are evaluating them is considering if this is the type of person that should have this type of knowledge. Because these knowledge in the wrong hand can be misused and can cause a wreck, can be detrimental to not only to themselves, but to the community around them. When I got on the compound, the old heads took a liking to me, and I was introduced to these books. I read Machiavelli the Prince. I read The Art of War. I studied Che Guevara, and I read the 48 Laws of Power. There's things in there that I don't agree with because it's almost deceptions. It's almost like get to where you need to get by any means necessary. And I'm not sure that I have I don't want to say the capacity for it, but just the ruthlessness to follow and implement all those laws that's in the 48 Laws of Power. But regardless of how I feel about it, these tools that are in those books are essential to helping you succeed in life and manipulating your environment. When I say manipulation, I don't mean it to be in a negative way, because you can be manipulating somebody to stop smoking or to stop running around, getting in trouble. Manipulation is just a word, but there's no negative or positive inclination to it. I'm just using the word manipulation because that's what it is, So this youngster, Justin, when I first went into the block with him, we had an incident with this black dude from New York. His name was Prince. Now, he's old school. They've been locked down since the early 90s, right? And he was telling me that Prince had basically tricked him out of a bag of chips and some crackers. And, Prince, compared to Justin, is a bigger dude. So I'm taking the homie's word for it. Like, you just came and punked the homie for these items. So I went down there and hollered at Prince about it. We got in kind of a heated conversation. And before it could jump off and blow up, the CO had called for count. So they came down and we just went to our cells and racked in. Now, while I'm in my cell, I'm like, fuck it. When his door cracked, I'm going to go down and holler at dude, because for me, I'm not going to let somebody take advantage of one of my peoples, regardless of who they are, how big they are, what gang they're from, and the rest of it. I've always been, being in the gang life that I've lived since I was a kid, that was always the mentality. Have your homies back at all times, ride or die and all the rest of it. Like, those phrases are uttered, so easily, but living by it, acting on it is a different story. And the reason I can sit here and share you these stories, my story, with confidence is because I fully believe that I've lived by them to the best of my ability. So, considering that mentality, when the doors cracked, my intention was to go down and holler at this dude. So when the doors cracked, I had a homie over there. We call him Insane. He's from Insane Vice Lord, out of St. Louis or Chicago. If I get it wrong, I apologize, homie. But, me and him was in the block and we functioned real tough. I was really close with a lot of those dudes from the Vice Lord. And being moved into K Block, I knew everybody in the block, but we all have different relationships, different levels of relationship with people. And me and Insane, we were on the level where we would aid and assist each other, even though he's black and I'm Asian. I can go to him and say, hey, homie, I need a piece. And without hesitation, he'll pull it out and hand it to me. So when the doors cracked, I went over to his cell. I said, hey, man, I need one of them things. He's like, man, what the fuck? What's going on, homie? I said, man, don't worry about it. Just let me get that, and I'm going to go deal with it. He's like, whoa, who's what? Me being young, I've yet to learn how to use my how to use my mind instead of just gun-ho, ready to crash. That's the thing that I had to really learn, you know, through the course of my bid, is being more, I guess, for lack of a better word, reasonable and patient, and put everything into perspective. So I mentioned who it was or whatever, and the person I'm talking about is a black dude named Prince out in New York. And, you know, there's always a racial line that's drawn. Like, he didn't, was like, you know, now here's a black dude, which I fuck with, Insane from Vice Lord. He's about to aid and assist me to go punish another black dude. But he's like, man, what's the issue? I was like, man, the dude over here went and gaffled some shit from the homie, this and that, punked the little homie and shit, right? So, but while we're in the conversation, like I said, before we got racked in for 4 o'clock count, me and dude had already exchanged some words about trying to rectify what was going on. So while me and Insane is in the conversation, Prince comes up. He comes up the steps. He's got the box of crackers and the bag of chips. He's like, hey, Mason, let me holler at you, man. You know, I'm on guard because, you know, like even in our little confrontation, our verbal confrontation, we always kept it respectful. Like, you know, you can't never just jump out there and start calling people outside their name or being disrespectful, because if you do that, then it leaves no room for you to mediate the situation, because now somebody's going to be offended, somebody's going to feel disrespected. And the situation at hand didn't warrant it to go to whatever extreme level that it could easily get to. So when I do have a verbal confrontation with somebody, I speak my piece, but I always keep it respectful, because you always want to leave that door open for a peaceful resolution. And if you know that there's not going to be a peaceful resolution, regardless of how long you talk until your face is blue, then why waste your breath? Just go over there and handle the situation. But the fact that we're in a conversation means that there's room for this peaceful resolution. So the dude comes up and he's like, hey, Mason, man, let me holler at you. He goes, here. I said, what's up, man? You know, of course, I'm on guard. He's like, here. He handed me the box of crackers and the bag of chips. He's like, listen, man, this ain't no, you know, whatever that little dude's telling you, it ain't how it went down. But this ain't no big deal to me. I don't want you thinking that, you know, I'm pressing up on your homie or nothing. And he was respectful about it. He was a man about it. You know, after he gave me the items, you know, he was telling me, he's like, hey, this is how it went down. Like, we had an agreement, and this is what it was, and this is what he gave me in return. But from the perspective of the young homie, he was telling the story like dude took it from him, you know. But being that Prince came up and did what he did, I had to respect him, and you know, I'm inclined to believe him. You know, I've known Prince longer than I've known the young homie. I don't know nothing about the young homie. He just came on the compound. But because he's Palau, an islander, Asian, we embrace each other and we welcome each other into the group, and it's an aid and assist, have your homies back mentality. So after that incident, I was a little cautious of how he moved, you know, and I started listening to things that came out of his mouth with a different type of ear. Nothing ever came, you know, we resolved that confrontation peacefully. Fast forward, we all get moved to Victorville. Now, in Victorville, at the time when we got over there, they didn't allow tobacco product no more. But people that was coming off the bus from Lompoc would package it up and bring it and sneak it through R&D. You know, they put it in different items and stuff, conceal it or whatever. And that was a way for Victorville to be able to get tobacco. Like when I first got there, they were breaking down, you know, something the size of a Taylor cigarette. One cigarette, they were selling it for $5. But after a couple months, they would split that in half and sell each piece for $5. Before I left Victorville, one cigarette was broken down into 6 or 8 pieces and being sold for $5 a piece, a book of stamps. And the value is $5 for each of those books. So inflation, you know, the market, the black market just went insane with the tobacco. If anybody smokes cigarettes, you know, tobacco is one of the most addictive things on the planet. So when he got transferred, I already went to Victorville. I'm settled into my block 2A in Victorville. I think about a month later, he caught the bus and came over there. So when he comes to the compound, he's like, hey, Mesa, the homie sent you 10 cans of tobacco. You know, them bugler cans. They're about this big. If I got 5 of those cans, I'm balling, right? So he's like, hey, the homies sent you 10 cans of tobacco. Because I had the homies that were still in Lompoc that were going to stay in Lompoc because, you know, their points dropped down and became FCI level. Because they had closed Lompoc down and turned to an FCI, and that shipped all of us out to Victorville. So he's like, yeah, it's in my property. I got 10 cans. The homie said 5 of it is for me and 5 of it is for you. So the following week, when he went to go pick up his property, they busted it. They found it. They locked him up. So he spent like 30 days in the shoe, and then he came out and he was my cellie. Well, you know me, I'm a little wild. I'm just doing what I want to do, living the way I want to live. As far as I'm gambling, you know, I run a poker table. I'm smoking, I'm drinking every day. I'm just kicking it, you know. And at this time, I'm making wine. I'm making batches of wine, you know, every 3 or 4 days. I mean, I'm getting drunk almost every day, but every 3 or 4 days, I got my own batch. I ain't got to go buy it. There's a few of us in the block that would make batches, and when we come down, we all kick back and drink together. So when he came out, I got him a cell, you know, for himself. And then, you know, I came up with the idea, say, hey, this is what we do. This, if you want to get on it, you know what I mean? You can make 2 batches, one for yourself and one for me. I'll buy all the stuff. You hold it in your cell. But I'm not just having the homie hold everything in his cell. I got 2 batches in my cell. And he's got 2 batches in his cell. And at the time in Victorville, you know, most of the COs didn't really care. You know, when we got over there, like there was a time where the COs in the block were searching people's cell, and they went into a cell and found a batch of wine out of a Crip dude's cell. So when the CO found it, he took it, but as he was walking out of the cell, 3 or 4 other Crip dudes and a few other black dudes surrounded him, keeping him from coming out the door. And they're like, man, what you doing with that? Oh, you ain't supposed to have this. It's like, man, that ain't yours. And the CEO was like, what? They're like, man, that shit ain't yours. If you take that, you're stealing. Put that shit back. And the CEO put it back. So for the most part, it was almost legal over there, you know? So, excuse me. So I got batches of wine in my cell. The homies got a couple batches of wine in his cell. But we slipped up and went outside and went and played football. And while we played football, there was this rookie CO. She's not a rookie, but she's new to me, you know. She was an older woman, been around the system or whatever. Anyway, she found the batches because it was just sitting in the sink with the water running on it, with the hot water running on it to keep it at a certain temperature so it, you know, so it would ferment. But she calls it in. So we're out on the football field and then we hear our name being called, and we get called to the lieutenant's office and they lock us up for having wine, right? So now we're in the shoe together. Me and him end up being in the shoe together a few different times. Because after we got out of the shoe on that incident, we went on lockdown. Me and my celly Kojo, who had the yard for the Muslim, I think his last name is Brown, from Black Liberation Army. We organized a lockdown and shut the whole Victorville down. But because of that, they snatched him up and snatched me up and took us to the shoe. But they also snatched up the homie that was down, a couple cells from me, Justin, because he was flooding the tier and all, he was a little wild youngster. So we end up in the shoe together again, right? Now, we also had another incident where when we were cellies, when we got to Victorville, you can get on the computer and type in people's name. So when we got to Victorville, we started running all the homies' names to see who's good or not. Because like I've told you, when I first touched down in Lompoc, we didn't have the reputation of checking paperwork. And a lot of communities, gangs, and other people really didn't do a lot of business with the Asian Islanders because we didn't have the reputation that we check paperwork. And I got hip to that, but I was brand new on the compound, and there was already people there established. So I bid my time, but when I got transferred to Victorville, we made it mandatory that, hey, there's a lot of people out here that want to do business with us, that want to fuck with us, and I want to fuck with them. But for us to fuck with them, we got to be up to their standards. And one of the standards is keeping the community clean. So we started running names and started cracking heads. Like if you weren't kosher, if your shit didn't check out, you was getting punished. And from that time till I came home, everywhere I've been, my reputation has always been that, yeah, I make sure all the people around me is good. And if they're not, they won't be here. So we end up running a Guamanian dude's name, John, or he did. He comes back and said, hey, man, this dude molested my auntie back in the days. But at this time, me and Justin, we're in the step-down program. For the last time we went to the shoe, they never let us back on the compound. They put us in a step-down program, which was a 6-month program, and you have to work down your level to get back on the yard. So when we're in the step-down program, we don't function with the rest of the yard except for chow time. A chow, we're the last unit that's called, and that's when we're able to see the other homies that come from wherever. So I told him, I said, all right, look, we got to run by the chain of command. Because politics is politics. Regardless of how you feel, you got to go through the chain of command. And at the time, they had the homie Johnny out of Hawaii that kind of spoke for the Hawaiians. And for me, I'm just me out of Utah. I don't claim to be anybody's shot caller or anybody's spokesman or anything. And I respect the change of command. So I told the homie, I said, look, let's bring this to Johnny and Bassa and let them deal with it. That's their role. They, however it came about, they put themselves, or the homies put them in a position to speak for the rest of us. So protocol means we bring the issue to them and let them deal with it, right? Plus, we're already in the step-down program. We're trying to get back to the regular compound. So when we go to chow, I tell Johnny and the homies, like, hey, man, this came up. This is what it is. You can go look up his name on the computer. And Johnny told me that he's going to take care of it. Like, don't worry about it. We'll go check it out and we'll handle it. Well, the next day when we go to chow, the young homie, we're in chow, we're the last unit called, and Johnny, he's working in the kitchen as an orderly. He's the one that cleans up after everybody eats, cleans the table, you know what I mean? Pick up the tray and take it to the back or whatever. He works in the kitchen. So when we go sit down to eat, the young homie's like, man, fuck that dude. I can't stand fucking looking at him. I said, you know, and I'm trying to tell him, like, listen, if you want to do something, let's do it right. If, you know, for me, if you're a rat or a sex offender, if you're violating kids or violating women, I'm not just trying to beat you up. I'm trying to put something in you. I'm trying to hurt you because every part of my body is against those deeds. So I told him, look, if you want to do this, then let's do it the right way. If not, let Johnny and them deal with the situation because they're on the compound. Me and him, we only get to come out during chow to see everybody. But he's like, nah, man, I'm going to go holler at him right now. I'm going to go holler at him right now. So, you know, me, I'm like, he's hard-headed. What am I supposed to do, right? So he goes there. I go behind him, and he's like, hey, Johnny, can I sit? Can I talk to you? And Johnny sits down, and the homie cracks him. Bop! And steals off on him, you know, a couple times before we all got gaffled up, right? I didn't do anything. I was there, didn't have an opportunity to do anything, but, you know, when the story was relayed back to the community or to Yano in particular, the one that I ended up putting in the hospital, was that I didn't have his back. You know, but I didn't know this at the time. You know, so he goes to the shoe. I'm still in the program. And by the time I make it back out of the program, they have him back in the program. And Yano ends up in the shoe. So while Yano's in the shoe, him and Justin are cellies. And I guess that's the things that he's whispering to him or whatever about whatever. Because when I came out on when I finally made it back out to the compound, you know, I went and shook hands with everybody. What's up, homie? You know how you give the homie hug, the homie, whatever. And I went to go and home, and Yana, I fuck with him. And when I went to go embrace him, I just felt the kind of like, you know, the hesitant, you know, the negative vibe. But for me, it's like, hey, whatever, right? So during that process, me and Yana stopped seeing eye to eye. And then, you know, like I told you, one day, he decided to come in my room with a knife, talking about he's trying to freaking extort my cellie. And we ended up going to his block after I talked him out of it. We went over there, stabbed him up, and almost killed him. But before this incident, me and him had made peace. He's like, hey, man, you know, after the last trip that he came out of the shoe, he's like, look, man, I want to apologize. I had this dude in my ear telling me all this stuff about the homies and you. And, you know, he's from Palau, and I'm from Palau, and I wanted to believe him. But I realized that the stuff that he was saying wasn't true. And the stuff that he was saying, and I don't know why, and I don't care why, but, you know, he was blaming all the times that he went to shoe on me. So he was kind of bitter that his tobacco got busted and never got a chance to hustle and make the money. And then he got in his feelings about, he said that I talked him into holding the wine. You know, he said that I talked him into holding the wine. He didn't mention that we both had wine in each of our cells, spread it out. But he was saying that, oh, I was having him hold the wine, and because of me, he got busted and went to the shoe. And then, then he said while we were in the shoe and the cellie, while we were cellies, that I would sit there and eat and make a bowl for myself and not share it with him. You know, and anybody's ever been in my cell, like, you know, the homie sit here and watch me, you know, watch these episodes and stuff. Homie, if I fuck with you, everything I got is yours. If I eat, you eat. And if we don't have nothing, then we're going to starve together, you know. And Yano knows this. He's been my cellie. Everything gets shared. And I was like, you know, you've been my cellie, homie. He's like, yeah, I know. That's when he started saying that shit, that's when I realized that he was full of shit. And anyway, you know, he's not coming back out. You know, they were back in the shoe together, and Yano ended up beating him up. And they say I wasn't there, but from the people that relayed what happened, they said Yano beat him up really bad. And Yano can fight, you know. And he beat him up really bad. And then he told the homies, like, hey, man, you're not coming, you're going to stay your ass back here. You're not coming back out on the compound because you just stirring up shit. So after me and Yano started having this conversation, you know, a lot of things were coming out. And before all this happened, they had an incident where there's a dude that came out of Utah that hit the compound. And before the dude hit the compound, I got a kite from Justin. And Justin was telling me, hey, man, this dude is from the compound. He's from this gang, which was a rival gang of mine. And I've already, you know, for us, for me, it was on site. Regardless if they were Asian or not, you know, we had beef out here. And every one of them that I caught in the county jail, I punished, or at least attempted to. And that hasn't changed. My mentality was fucked up. I was mad, I was angry, and I'm gangbanging. And any of these dudes that I run into, I was trying to life flight them. So I get the kite, you know, saying, yeah, this dude is from so-and-so, whoop-de-whoop. So when the people get kicked out of the shoe, you know, a certain day of the week, they have a shoe kick out. The shoe is special housing unit, which is the whole lockdown. But every day of the week, not every day of the week, but every week, there's a designated day that they let people out of the shoe. So the kite's like, yeah, the dude's coming out of the shoe. I'm just letting you know, I fuck with you, and so on and so forth. So on that day when they let people out of the shoe, you know, I'm there. And I see dude, and I went up and I hit him up. I said, what's up, homie? I said, hey, where you from? He said, oh, I'm from Utah. I said, yeah, who you run with, though? He said, oh, I don't gangbang. I said, you sure? He said, yeah, man, I don't gangbang. I said, shit, that's not what this kite says. This kite says you're from this so-and-so, and you're this and that. It's like, nah, man, I never said nothing that to him. I was like, well, we have two options, homie. Either dude's trying to put you in a crotch. If you're this guy that he's saying you are, then I'm trying to see you. You know, I was going to go steal on the dude and take on him. I'm going to give him an opportunity to, you know, for a fair one. And plus, I don't want to make a scene and, you know, out in the compound in front of the COs or in front of other inmates. And I'm trying to catch a cell with this dude. So I told him, look, this is what the kite says, Holmes. So if this is true, then I'm trying to holler at you. But if it's not, then you need to holler at dude that trying to put you in a cross, which was Justin. So during that, on the next move, because Justin is in the step down program. So on the next move, that dude comes over there to the step down unit and goes and holler at Justin. And Justin like, oh, nah, man, I was just fucking around, Mesa. Yeah, you know, when the dude confronted him, Justin was like, oh, man, you know, I was just fucking around. I just wanted to see how you was going to act, you know, if you was real with it, this and that. And now I'm looking at this dude like, what kind of games are you playing? You know what I mean? So that's when I'm going back to the 48 Laws of Power. You know, because when he got there, there's people that he fucked with that was official and took a liking to him because he was a really likable dude. And they started introducing him to literature. But somehow this kid got it in his mind that he can start implementing this thing and use it for his entertainment. But, you know, he violated the rules. You know, the third law, 48 Laws of Power. Conceal your intentions. He wasn't very good at concealing his intentions because when you start adding things up, it started exposing him. And everybody started getting like a, it wasn't just me, but all the homies around and any of other people, they started looking at him like, man, there's something wrong with this dude. He's always up to something. But for what reason, I don't know. I still don't know because I never had a chance to confront him, you know, about the situation. You know, and I got it here with me. And the 10th law was one of the laws that he used repeatedly. And that was use selective honesty and generosity to disarm. And again, he was a likable dude, but whatever game he was playing, it caught up to him. Because when he ended up back in the shoe for whatever else he did, and Yano was back there with him, Yano punished him and told him not to come back out on the compound again. Now, you see why I was kind of hesitant to share the story about him, but the reason I'm doing it is by his request. You know, he hit me up and wanted me to share the story about him. Again, you know, just for the record, there was nothing foul about him as far as his case went, but he's just, you know, a lot of problems that people have in the penitentiary is that when they get comfortable, they start feeling themselves, or they feel that they have to live up to a certain image to be a certain type of character. But if that's not who you are, you're going to get exposed. I always tell people that actors in movies get paid millions of dollars to play those roles because acting is not easy. Not everybody can do it. And you can only pretend and act for so long before your true self comes out. And when your true self comes out and it doesn't coincide with the image that you're trying to project, well, people's going to lose respect for you. Because if they know this dude is not a fighter or whatever, and that, you know, I'm not talking about people that tell or anything like that. You know, those things, you know, they're not in the conversation. But they know this dude's not a fighter. They know this dude's just, you know, just like, you know, a square, ain't no gangster. But he's being his true self. He's not pretending to be anything. And if he's a likable person, a person of integrity, people get to decide if I want to be this guy's friend or not. You know, as opposed to if he's projecting an image and people are assuming that he's this projection and decide to be his friend and find out that that was just a, you know, just a hologram. When people find out you deceived them by pretending to be somebody else, they get in their feelings about it and you lose respect and you might lose your life. You know, people always say, like to use the term, keep it real. Well, literally, you got to keep it real. Be you who you are. You're going to make friends. You're going to meet people that like you just for who you are. But if you pretend to be somebody else and they find out that you're not that dude, they're going to lose respect for you. You know, I ain't got nothing against you, homie. And maybe this probably wasn't the story that you wanted me to share. But if you've been watching my episode, I got to keep it real. Welcome to the USP.